Perfect. All right, welcome all. So back to the red Raleigh Grand Prix. And today we're doing a very big brake upgrade. We're going to be swapping out this old style of brake for a very, much nicer, more modern one. Also, just some nice used components I got in the local store. Swapping that out, and unfortunately, redo all of it. This will be my first time fully redoing all of that at home. There we go. And as part of getting that done too, this whole 1970s plastic is going to come off and get replaced with a nice, comfy new red and black one that I think is going to look really sharp. Yeah. So far, everything I tried on this bike on stream failed terribly. First thing I tried to look at was bottom bracket, and the size of the bolts on this bike are really funky. I thought after my struggles with this one that it was Imperial. Got some Imperial wrenches. Those were not correct either. It's like all of the bolts on this have just swollen a little bit. They don't. Like if it's a 12 millimeter, the 12 millimeter wrench just barely doesn't fit. 13 millimeter is a bit too big, but still manages to fit better than the Imperial sizes. So we'll see. Anything wrench-wise, I'm probably just going to be bouncing back and forth between metric and Imperial. Took it out for a ride though. The bearings are all very good. It rides really nice. The derailleur, which is this weird, I've never seen exactly this style before. It's close to what Sun Tour became and has like stayed for decades, but it's not quite that, and it really sucks. It can't do the fourth gear. I was convinced there must be something wrong with the cassette with how much it really just can't do the fourth gear, but there's nothing wrong with the cassette. So this will be getting replaced along with the chain. This chain is weird, very old. So I'm gonna replace that, and I'm actually gonna try doing a hot wax for it. So the new thing I just discovered, and when I was asking at the bike shop, they said they actually really love it too. So that'll be some big drivetrain improvements on it coming up later this week. A little bit of problems getting this rack situated and happy on, but it's doing okay for now. We're going to start with big old tear down. We're actually going to cut our brake lines right away. Because unfortunately, when you want to redo the levers up here, you have to reline everything. And once you have crimped and cut the end of this line, you really can't get it to go through any of the cabling again. So you kind of just have to undo it all. That actually does feel pretty nice. So as part of this, I am going to be doing and adjusting the center pull brakes, which I know a lot of people don't like. I love them. I think they adjust so much nicer. You know what, that guy can go ahead and get some cleaning too. Well, that guy is just getting soaked in some simple green. The funk on it to me looked very like. Also, I think it's probably going to need a little PLC with some liquid wrench to avoid rust. We'll see. So, important thing when you're doing brakes, make sure you save all of these little bits and your old chunk of cabling. The way I'm doing this, it's actually going to need a new length, but generally speaking, you just want to get the exact same length of cabling. And then these little bits are important for going together and making this whole mechanism work. So all of that goes right there as your end piece. There are some funky little end pieces you'll meet. Like back here, the rear brake has a piece. You want to make sure you save those little covers. You can a lot of times get the replacement for what goes over the cover. What goes over the end of this, because the ends a lot of times are not this way. That side done. Push this cable through. Just toss the other side. Also, looking at this, that is an absurd amount of dark that I was like, yeah, I don't know how this got so greasy. It's very weird. But very black. Get this guy off. Let's take the plastic off first. I'm gonna show on this side. It'll be a little easier to see from this angle. But these just pop off. Depending on how hard they're in there, you might need a tool, you might not. These are one of the most important safety features. Despite being just a little plug. Because if you were to hit something on a bike, you get thrown forward, sometimes over the handlebars. That's a common phrase a lot of people hear, is getting thrown over your handlebars. And your leg, your thigh is getting thrown up against it. You're getting thrown into that hard metal edge against your thigh your whole body weight. That's some pretty serious injuries right there. So do not slack on those little cable ends. I was thinking there wasn't going to be any grease on this, but this has been surprisingly gross so far. Especially this 1970s plastic, it's just damn near biohazard. Ooh, they wrap that nice though. I'll do something similar when I'm doing it. They kind of wrapped up, around, down, back around. It's a little easier to do with this old plastic though. But it's not actually something pleasant to ride on. And this is from the era when plastics really did have immeasurable health effects. Absolutely panic about microplastics right now. No one's really sure that they do it. It just kind of seemed bad. But this old stuff before even BPA, I don't want to touch any of this. And you could just use a knife and cut the whole thing off, but side. The way this works when you're installing these, you start wrapping up here. So all of this is held on by its own, by the layer after it, until the very end. And your last loose bit of stuff goes in there and gets held on. We'll do that in reverse in just a little bit. But this style of brake, I think this is going to be one of the main things I really replace. And judging by the cost of the replacement ones I got, which as a used component were 20 bucks. I think the rack on this bike was 10 bucks. Those brake levers are an expensive component. And especially for a used component to cost that much, that means a lot of people are buying it. So that's a really common upgrade, a lot of people. But this type of bar right here, this in particular, is really common on bikes from the late 70s. And they're locally known as suicide bars or suicide brakes because they absolutely suck. They can just stop working for no reason, which is fun. And then also when your arms are down here, you can't like really brace yourself well at all compared to like down here or even up here like we'll do on the modern ones. It's kind of like trying to do a diamond push-up. Like it is way more difficult to exert any force than you think. It's also significantly less comfortable than the modern style, which the ones we're installing now, they use the same kind of style, even on like, I was just watching some Tour de France videos and they use the same ones there. Alright. Next, we need to get at that bolt in there. There's a flathead in there. That is how we loosen this up and we'll get the whole brake off. can be quite annoying. Crappy little IKEA screwdriver. I'm quite certain I'm gonna lose this bit in there at least once. Much prefer when it's a hex wrench. Flathead wheel. If you loosen this all of the way, this screw will come, or bolt will come off completely. You don't have to. Once it's loose enough, this bit can slide off, but I'm gonna go ahead and pull it all the way off, and I'm just gonna toss this. No one wants this style of brake. They are abundant. Well, actually, I'm gonna recycle it. Hopefully, might be aluminum. Side's done. Now we're gonna remove the brake. The rear brake, generally speaking, will have 2 chunks of cable. You've got your big long one up here. There's also, so that brake runs to about here, and then it generally stops having cabling on for the covering on it. Runs back to here, a little more cabling, and goes down to your actual brakes. So I'm gonna go ahead and clip here, pull this off. Again, when you're doing this, it is best practice to hold onto that cable covering, because you're going to want, generally speaking, the same lengths. This one back here, I am still going to want. It's even a really good idea to keep track of which ones go where. That left one is a little shorter than this one. This one's really short. Also, a little thing. For center pull brakes, I'm loosening this up before it's completely cut free. Actually, let's look at the end. So, this little end, I'm cutting it because it's easier than trying to pull the crimp off. Trying to pull that crimp off is a pain. But if you're trying to loosen this up after it comes off, you're trying to hold this metal piece in your hands with no tension on it while loosening this bolt that has to be very tight. One of the most important parts of center pull brakes is that you get this little bolt right here very tight. If it's not tight enough, it will just pull the cord through here and your brakes don't work. So it's really, really important that this guy be tight. And trying to loosen that just with your hand is miserable. So loosen that lock. And again, generally you wouldn't need to degrease those. I don't know why these brake pieces seem so greasy. This stand does actually have slots that this is supposed to be able to pull through. It's not doing an amazing job of it. Actually, that flat bit does not want to go through the housing, so we're just going to cut it off. Does not matter at this point. Hold on to these when you're working with them and clean up your work area well afterwards. If anything is fraying, you can get pieces of metal dropping, which really suck. This one's in good shape. I'm not losing anything, but it's again, watch to make sure you keep every piece from along here. That's an important little part of adjusting your brakes. Let's step this back up. And even for this, I don't think we're going to end up using any of these end pieces. We'll use this guy. These are not going to apply brakes. Actually, this is not coming off of here. So that's exciting. Looking at this other piece though, I just pulled one out of here. That'll match pretty nicely. It's almost a scavenged one. Cycle the cable. Honestly, I don't know that our municipal recycling here will be able to deal with this well. Shop is better, but what can we do? We've got a pretty good recycling system here, so I think they can deal with that. Two. Again, there's that flathead bolt down in there. Now I'm going to clean these down a little bit with just, again, some sort of funky 1970s adhesive or plastic that sure has not been used in the industrial world 30 years. This is from the time period where your average American had lead poisoning, average American child. We're gonna go ahead and make that up. These are nice aluminum too. Pretty sure. They do not feel like steel. As much as I love steel, the big parts of your frame are really the important thing for it. Especially just this. Actually, one of my favorite old bike I had, the lugs up here, where it all meets, this was aluminum, and then the long pieces were steel. So you got like the flexibility of steel on the long bits, and then the big heavy lugs were aluminum. It's a lot lighter. Really neat design. Okay, that's all good. Let's work on installing the brakes. So these are not identical, so they do have an R and an L in there. You might not be able to see it in the light, but the line pops out to the curls out this way from the right one and curls out this way from the left. So wiring them up is a little funky. You're stabbing around in the dark, but they're going to work very similar. Got a bolt down in there. Looks like a nice little Allen wrench. That's what I want to see. Much nicer to work with than this. Let's see what size it is. First try, 5mm. I'm gonna loosen this guy up almost completely. I really don't care if it falls off. You can rethread it, but it can be really awkward getting these on here. The first time. Is not perfectly round. Struggles getting on the end of the bar. Should be enough material to get around it, but that is really having a time. Let's see what we can do. I'm gonna take this off completely. Nice, that looks all right. Well, yeah. So as you can see, this could fit around quite a chunker of a handlebar, but it wasn't before. And this guy, judging by the look of it, that looks like steel to me. That looks like aluminum. Aluminum oxidizes into very matte gray. Honestly, I'm just going to take a hammer to this thing. Try to get it around. Yeah, I'm gonna take a hammer to this guy and just try to flatten him out a little bit. That only works with a steel piece. Aluminum, if aluminum bends, it loses essentially all of its structural integrity. You cannot rebend aluminum. Steel, you can bend back. So. If I made things better or worse. Feels a bit better. Not perfect yet, but better. Not the proper way to use any of those tools. This is a cheap and easily replaceable part. It's not specific to these brakes. So, do what we can. So close. Also, one of the reasons I'm not trying to force it more directly onto this bar, that aluminum is pretty soft. And you know, even doing this on my last bike, it gouged into the aluminum a little bit. This is so close though. It might. Come on. Come on, buddy. And when I tighten this down, it's gonna really push everything into shape around it. But yeah, don't do this with your $400 index shifter mounts and carbon fiber cozy what's-its. Come on, help that start. You can do it. No, that's right. First time, don't do that. Let's see. What I'm actually doing right there to try to widen this, I've just got a chunk of metal. It's more the shape I want. Just putting it at the thin spot and hammer it into place. Very jank. Do not recommend. But, ta-da. Worked. Nah, I'm gonna skip the wrench. It'll be fine. There we go. And yeah, so as that bolt's gonna go in right here, and it's gonna push up against that and pull this hard up against there, and that's gonna pull it all into shape around that anyway. Because steel does deform, that's why it's so excellent. It can deform and still keep its shape. So that should be fine. Oh, I'm gonna do this. Let's go this way, but maybe so my right brake. So I'm going to get that bolt right there, stuck on the end of my wrench. Think we're threading? Yeah, we're threading. All right. So before I tighten down all the way, I want to get this positioned to go about where we want it to be. I think I'm actually going to go a little higher. Yeah. So these go pretty high when you're on top. You got two routing positions with these. One is up here. Yeah, that's kind of your middle finger generally. Well, I do have one. And the other is down here, the blank. I do actually want kind of this indent around where my finger's grabbing, and this does feel awkward right there. So this is all going to get moved up a bit more. That looks pretty good too. middle finger's hitting right in that little hole. I think up there should be good too. These are real chunky. You get your whole wrist up there on that. Might rotate this whole thing up a little bit, but that can be another time. It felt pretty nice. And I'm not gonna really wail on this for tightening it. It pulls everything in just fine, and it is pushing on my handlebar, so I don't really want to drive a bolt into my handlebar. I'll say just the repositioning of that and how jank it was is one of the things I love about old bikes. I mean, this thing is 60 bucks. I think I picked it up from a guy who got it at a yard sale for even less than that. They're not exactly top commodities, despite being such incredible little bits of hardware. And that gives you a lot of room to experiment, and they are all different. The green one came out a year after this one, from what I can tell, and there are significant differences. Yeah, we're gonna do the same thing. I imagine I'm gonna have to reshape this guy again. Yeah, you can see this was on a very narrow little handle. All right. Yeah, that is too jank to be shown on camera. Already almost there though. Yeah. I'm gonna try to squeeze this down just a little bit more, get a little more round back in the top. And then I'm putting something in the middle. It's just a little bit wider to push down to flare out those edges a little bit. Very important detail for reshaping things. Steel only. Aluminum does not reshape. Once it deforms, it is done. And the reason I'm not trying to deform it around this directly, because the aluminum is so soft, you can gouge this pretty decently. Right, shove a piece of steel onto a piece of aluminum. Not a huge deal, these are pretty dang sturdy, but I don't like it. It's always a bit annoying getting around those bends right there. I'm gonna deform and gouge a little bit on its own. looks like this guy's set up pretty high right here. But generally just rotating it back and forth around there. Get it moving. And the bolt came out. That's okay. That is the downside of removing these completely. You have to thread everything back. The nut side that's on the handlebar can fall out of there. Gotta be a little careful. You can get these on without disconnecting it. That is perfect. I'll have a little bit of a nicer time. And this looks like it's about the right height, matching what I've got on the rack. Pretty dang identical to me. Maybe a touch slower. Oh, I feel like the left side is flaring out more than the right. It is. So if you look at this left handlebar pretty head on and see the bottom of it peeking out around the corner right there. This right side, like, I don't know, it's hard to show. It's like if you're looking at it, it feels like when you're looking at it head on is what determines what would do that, but looking at it in person, you can see it a little bit more. The left side is flared out just a little bit more. It's a little bit of trauma in this bike's life, but I don't think it's going to matter a whole lot. Be able to reorient this a little bit to compensate. Will you rotate at all? How do you feel about rotating? Nah. I don't think that's gonna make any difference at all. You know, we'll see how much of it is in my head. Alright, so things we still have to do, we're gonna have to feed the lines through. Before we do the lines, we need the cabling. And to get the cabling exactly right, I'm gonna have to do the handlebar wraps. So the handlebar wraps are going to go over the cabling. So this is one of the reasons this is a little different. I'm not using the exact same lengths of cabling. That little indent right there is where the brake line's going to come out. And that is there we go. Right down in there. That little dark spot, that's where the housing is going to sit. So that's going to run in alongside the handlebars, and then pop out right here as it gets past the bar racks and continue to where it's supposed to be going. think my plan is actually going to be to line it up without anything on it. I'm gonna tape it to the bars along where it goes. But I know with my green one, there was one spot where I really would have liked like an extra half a centimeter, like just millimeters. Would have been nice. So I'm gonna try just taping it in place, getting everything lined up exactly. There. Okay. And get some electric tape. I done that. So, right down to my local bike shop today. Picked up some nice housing. That's great, and you can get it for a few bucks a meter. Decent stuff. So, big recommend to just grab some of this if you're going to be working on bikes. So, go through a couple meters of it. Also, I was just looking around, and you can just get a nice little set of this with the lines you need, those little bits I was saying to be sure to save and don't throw them away, replacements of that. Just a nice little kit from Shimano. So that is also a solid option if you are just starting work up on a bike of your own. But if you do want to do something like this, I highly recommend looking for a local bike co-op. It's where you'll find people who know how to do this and want to teach other people how to do it. And just doing stuff, someone there to check your work is the best way there is to learn. Alright, now this, very easy to remember which brake goes where. Right is rear. So wraps around right here, and then it needs to go right here. I think they have it designed where it was supposed to go down this side, but I think you can even see as I try to do that, it puts a lot of tension on there. I might actually wrap it around. You see how happy it is. So that way, as I turn that way, it just bunches up a little bit. I turn this way, here. I turn this way, start to get a little tension eventually. Back around that way, yeah, it just pushes a little. So I think right about there is what I really like. It's not my favorite. I really like it to line up right here, just like along the right side. But I don't think it lines up well this way. It was designed with the suicide bars in mind. It's also important to know this is going to go through this first one, and it's going to stop here. So I'll actually be cutting at about this point. Make sure everything is seated where I want. Check for my full range of motion. Yeah, and like it shouldn't be turning that far, but you want to make sure that it can. I'm probably going to remove this light reflector up here anyway. It's not doing shit. Alright. So, I have pinched in my finger the length all that was. And then I've backed up just a little bit from that, so that's a little longer, just in case. You can adjust down, you can't adjust backwards. It's a pair of cable cutters are designed for this. The big key is just it lined up, and not like that. You want to be good and hard. So that was not, but looks like this end at least. Don't know how well I can see that there is still a little hole at the end right there. If you cut it too sloppy, that gets completely glossed over. This back end is a little funky. I don't love that. Still not loving this end. There is, and actually, yeah, sun's catching it really nice right there. There's a little piece of metal hanging out a lot closer to that hole than I'd like. I'm gonna try to get that out of the way with some needle nose pliers. Says I did get, these are a pretty cheap pair of cable cutters. These are like $8. The next pair up was $45. And I'm still a hobbyist, so sorry, no $50 tools for me for that yet. Soon though. Still struggling with this little guy. So I did another cut because one thing that's nice about starting with the rear brake, this is the longer cable. So if it is getting to the point that I can't, there we go, that it wouldn't be long enough for my front brake, or the rear brake, I can use it for the front brake. Honestly, that might be okay. Alright. For that cut, I think that's about as good as I'm going to get. There's a fresh brake cable. This is what the end of our brake lines are generally going to look like. It's the most common road bike style. I'm going to be, and something really important too, the end of these lines, when you get them, are very nice and fused together. That lets you squeeze them through everything well. Once you've cut this line, anytime you try to squeeze it through anything, at least one of those little threads of wire is going to start popping out and being a pain in the ass. So let's check how this lineup is doing now. So I did have to make a couple cuts on this until I got one that I really liked, but they were all very small, and I gave myself a little bit of extra wiggle room on purpose. There we go. Sliding down right there. Gonna wrap around this side, back around to here. You know, I do feel like I lost a little more. Yeah, no. That full swing right is really just gonna be a pain, isn't it? I'll put him in there. Let's see what this looks like now. So now if it swings this way, that's very happy. If it swings that way, it really doesn't start pulling until about there, which is okay. It should be pulling at that point. So I think we are going to do it this way and just keep it along the right side. I actually like that a lot more now. That's fine. I didn't like it threading its way around the other way. And again, you don't turn your wheels that far anyway. And also when it really starts pulling right there, it's just going to pull on the handlebar wraps a bit, which is not like ideal, but and this isn't you know what, that's fine. We're just going to send this guy to the front. left-hand front. Start right there. Wrap around to here. The left side is really nice and easy because it attaches to this spot right here. Which is just cozy and easy. The brake line is just very happy to go there, and it's on the same point that rotates with this. As you turn the steering, the handlebars, that brake point moves too. With the rear brake, that's not the case, and so that's why it's kind of bounces around a little more. You know what? I don't like this, and it's in the way. No. It's not a 12, but I feel like 11. Should be an 11. Yeah, and this is what I was talking about where the sizing on this is so weird. The 11 barely doesn't fit. Like, it's like they just got a little bit bigger. This one is the least bad of any of these. I damn near hammered this wrench onto one of the other parts of the bike because it was so close, but like just couldn't quite get on there. But hammering this on in order to make it fit kind of defeats the point. This is actually going to have to come all the way off to remove that piece. Yeah, this one's starting to get a little better. But yeah, I swear, it's like all of the bolts on this have swollen up with age. I'm going to take this opportunity to readjust this up a little bit like I wanted. Just a little bit. See how that feels. Yeah, like they don't quite fit. Damn it. Let's see, he might come up get cleaned at some point. I'm gonna try it like this. This is more my pointer finger. It's right there, which I don't love. I think it's more comfortable though. Maybe a little less. feel like both are in a good spot for that. I think that's gonna be really good. We'll see. It's not hard to adjust if it's being a problem. It's not gonna mess with anything else. Okay, that's gonna be left now. So I'm gonna lose another chunk of line. Have to. This really is not gonna work. How perfectionist am I being right now? It's a 90-degree angle. I'm being overly perfectionist.
Hey, Dick.
Hi.
Your head's flooded.
That's it. Alright. So yeah, so it's still gonna be the right one. But let's see. So what I'm gonna do. There's another hole right just above the bolt. I'm gonna feed this through there. I'll see it pop out up top. The way these are made, it seems like, yeah, that was so easy. That took me solid 5 minutes on each brake. Whoops, and then I forgot the most important part anyway. Brake would not work like that. So first, it needs to actually attach to the lever. This front part right here. Gets thread through that, and we can see that's going to be right where that little ball part of it sits. I think the other side, yeah. The other side of it does not have that indent. So we need to go in this side, and then the line will pop out there. Oh, I spoke way too soon about this working nicely. Although, you know, I bet this will work. So there we go. Start it through there. Come on. You can do it. Some random little lip in there that's catching on. Okay, so it needs to push like a little right. If it's going left, it looks like it catches, and if I push right, it's okay. That right wall. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Come on. About this point, I start looking if anything else can come off. Ow. Yeah, just it really has to push. Okay. Push the opposite direction. So I pushed left, and then as it was pressing on the inside of the tunnel, that forced the end of it right. And there we can see how nicely that the brake line sets in there. That's what causes when you pull your brake, it pulls on that line. Feed this through. Man, I really pinched my finger in there. And getting that started is the thing that you'll really not be able to do. If, oh wow. I'm going through. Still not getting it in front of this. So I got it through, but there's a little piece of metal in here that I could just feel rubbing on the brake line. And that's really no good. Every time this moves, it's going to be on the inside of that. The whole inside of this tube is lined with Teflon and all sorts of good stuff. So. Best one yet by a mile. Let's see if the line agrees. There we go. Nice and smooth all the way through. Very good. So this comes through there. I lost like a couple millimeters. It should be okay. I'm gonna make sure, get everything else completely done before I cut anything off the end of this. But that should be about it. This is also where those line ends go. That nestles in right there. This one, yeah, that's okay. So, alright, this is gonna be a little funky. So this piece can't get through there. This has just a hole, so this has to go through there. This has to go on this side on its own. That slides through there. Settles into its nice little end cap. Now, check my rotation. Oh. Let's see, this might be getting moved over. Honestly, yeah, nah. Alright, that's gonna have to get moved. This settled down in there a lot farther with the line on it, it feels like. So I had the line really guiding it all the way into the bottom of that. It settled in a bit farther. So I'm actually going to use this piece as a guide for how long to make the string. And we're going to lean towards too long. Good. So that's about something like an inch more. And it's gonna lean towards. Oh, hi. Is that for you? Baby. Not an actual baby. Alright. So I have this guy with a solid inch or so longer. What I'm really gonna want. And I'm gonna go almost 2 inches. Just because of the problems we've had with the cuts not coming out terribly clean. And go about there. All the way down to the end. Fast as possible. That looks okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay. Do our little dance down here again. Of course, the time I cut it a bit long, just to make sure that we can get a clean cut. It decides that it's a clean cut strap. Piece in there. Piece in here. There. Alright. Let's see. Push all the way around in there. That's just fine. Strap around that way. Oh, that is excellent. Alright, so we're gonna do. While that is all settled, we're going to do the handlebar racks up on this side. Because the rest of the brake line is just done. That's all. We'll get that settled then. I think. Yeah, honestly, if anything's gonna go wrong, it's gonna be this. And so the rear brake is fine. It has more than enough cabling, one little bit of housing that goes back there. None of this can really affect that. So get this done right. Because if this is not right, it just has to be. And we don't want to undo the whole section. So this style, general bar wraps come with some functionally fancy electrical tape, which is very useful for getting started right here. Never super found out what these are for. I think though that they're for right here, because the very back spot of this is very tricky to cover. This is also a spot where you put your hand rest. So I'm gonna try putting these right around here. We'll see how that goes. Because generally they just go unused. There's a little bit of a sticky bit on the back of handlebar tape. Not really enough to actually stick it, but it is enough to kind of hold it in place while you get the rest of it around. You're going to be very helpful with this, aren't you, baby? It really does make a little spaghetti. Alright. So, it's up here. Start peeling off the backing. Which, my cat is going to attack. You'll hear that in a minute as I try to get her not to do that. And I'm going to use this little bit of electrical tape at the very end of this. But then the big thing that really holds it is just a bit of tension. I should have started that further down, but it'll do. This type of tape does follow the form pretty well. I honestly like the stuff that's even more cork-like than this. Well, darn, that's gonna make my life a little harder. But wrap it up and around, and the parts where your hands don't really go, you can go pretty thin and just kind of keep coverage. You still want to have a bit of hangover between each layer, because a big part of what really keeps it on is the pressure from the next loop. As I wrap this around, it is on top of the previous one a bit. This one too, just a little bit. Not a whole ton, just a bit. Pretty sparse this whole way. There it is, almost more for aesthetic than anything else. Those old suicide bars, you'd have your hands up there, but nowadays you technically can, but no reason to. So now in here, really want to keep tension on these. Honestly, not loving, the form fittingness of this. So this whole area, it's a little funky. I'm gonna wrap around and try to get underneath the hood there. Sometimes you can, there's some little funky like wraparound all over the place. I've done with this before. Like come down here, then wrap around back up top, and then all the way down. nice things that it's hard to recreate a second time. I'm just gonna do this way, and you can see that little bit of extra actually really kind of like it. Right on the comment right now. That's okay. I'm gonna keep it like that. It's pretty good. That's right in that area where your hand is really gonna hit. You got a nice little bit of cushion right there. Getting that spot inside there is just really awkward. There's some sort of way to do it, but now this is where your hand is really going to be resting, and the right side is, since it's on the inside of the curve, you're really keeping, it's like coverage on the outside, and that's bunching up quite a bit on the inside. So it just kind of naturally ends up piling up at the one place where you end up actually putting your. There we go. And you can go a little thicker through there if you want. I think that feels great. Now, so I think, yeah, all of this feels really nice, good and secure. I want to try and do that. I'm going to try and do that. I want to try and figure out the funky way to do this. I've got enough extra tape. I generally try to go a little sparse most of the way down, just to make sure I have enough tape at the end. Honestly, I think I've done this enough times so that it feels like I'm pretty consistently doing it. So I think the way you want to do this is going to go all the way down here and around. The other way I did it works just fine. Could have stopped right there. No, I completely forgot the brake lines. Alright, well, I'm going to redo the whole thing anyway. Now, while I'm right here, okay. Brake line needs to be attached in there. So honestly, I'm actually going to grab some more electrical tape and tape it along there. Cool. I guess you'll get to watch me wrap the bugs 3 times now. Actually, I should go get my splits too. Although, not really going to fix it. Splits aren't very good anyway. A while back, I worked in IT. A number of years ago at this point, kind of early smartphone days. And one of the most annoying things that we had to do was put screen protectors on phones. Thank you, Rap. But it's still annoying to get a screen protector on a phone without having bubbles in it. Those early ones, it was nearly impossible to get a screen protector on without bubbles in it. And any executive felt they were really important. Of course, it's acceptable for them to have any kind of blemish on their phone screen. So what that ended up happening is, if you were good at it, you became the person who was putting screen protectors on all of the phones. It's extraordinarily tedious. They just kind of don't work. So what ended up happening is people would be bad at it on purpose, so as to not be the person who was in charge of putting screen protectors on phones. This was more the department next door to mine. I, of course, would never do such a thing. Bar tape is that exact same thing. This is obnoxious. It is time consuming, fiddly. Most of it makes really no difference. But it does look nice when you get it all done. A little heavy right here. This is the spot where my hands might be resting a little bit. I'm gonna try for funky version again. It's down around this way. And around. Here. I really like the way this feels. Because yeah, and then this one just come back up here. Which does not seem correct at all. No, that is not. So, and I think these are so wide, I don't think you can do it. Those other breaks, I think I commented as I was unwrapping it, what a nice job they did with it. Because those with a really thin bar wrap, you can get a pretty neat little wrapping style on it. It almost kind of like wraps around this part of the handbrake right here. Really neat. But these are just a little too chunky, I think. I have to work it out. I was gonna say my cat has been so good. She has not stolen the bits of paper that came off this. But I think one of them is missing. I'll try something too. Let's fit in here. So that's the spot that struggles to have coverage. Put this in here. Interesting. I've got some spare tape at the end of this. You know. Let me try something. Put it here. Do the same thing on the other side. Try that. I think that's actually going to give us better coverage. It's like first that previous layer was popping off a little bit. Hood. I've been over both of those. Up under the side of the hood. Excellent. Yeah, that caught. It's covering the bottom side over there. I'll show what that looks like in a minute. But yeah, look at that. That's perfect. Huge crap note. I feel like I just put on a screen protector perfectly. Good job. Now you get to do that. There we go. I'm wrapping this a little denser through here, just to burn up a little bit of the extra crap. Probably could go a little denser up at the top too. Now this is tricky. Ending these is always funky because you need to have a bit of extra to play with. I'm not going to need that much more, especially with how dense I cut it all along here. Even if I completely messed up, could unroll a solid chunk of this. So right now I deliberately made a bit of a lip around the whole thing. This really doesn't want to fold in half, just fold it in half, bro. And this extra stuff is really annoying. It's gonna get in the way when I'm trying to book a campaign. And careful trying to stuff all this in with your fingers too, because aluminum is a pretty dang dull edge, but somehow it's also sharp. You know what? I'm gonna cut it. I messed it up live on camera, so. Let's put this. Bit of an angle. Off that lip. Down inside there. Not as much lip on this side as I would like, so I'm going to back up. All that in there. There's probably a better way to end that. I think I'll do okay. But you generally got a hammer. See, I think the worst bit, there's one little nub right there. Other than that, and so yeah, and then that's bundled up a little bit. It's not perfect, but super happy with how this part came out. Those two little strips right in there are perfect. Nice and heavy padding right in here where your hand's actually going to be. Didn't forget the brake line this time. Solid. Amazing range of motion. Let's just finish up this whole break. Get it done. What do I do? No, we're gonna finish up this whole break. This guy runs along through there and pops out through here. There's a chunk of housing in our normal side. On my left brace real quick. Finding out a bit of housing here. Okay. This is my Shimano. What do you call it? About that length. I'm going to go a hair over in case no botch. Looks great. Okay. So I started off with about 2 meters of cabling, well under 1 minute. So when you're buying this stuff, just go heavy. Buy a lot of it. And I'm never doing another bite. Now, this side I believe should have. Yeah, I'm not actually going to end up having any end caps on my other piece. Now, threading order for this. Here. Cap. And then for my housing, it should be good. What's that? Is that not gonna cover? Yeah, that the housing sets directly in there. The cover doesn't fit, so whatever. Got it now. And then this is going to thread down here. Adjuster. And the bike rack is going to make my life a bit more difficult, but I'm going to make sure I can get that fitted on there. And we'll see if it needs to come off, it comes off. And we'll make it. Let's get it out of the way. I really wanted to make sure that it worked this morning. I don't actually have it right. How are you doing, B? Kind of struggling with cargo rack in like 3 different ways. That's what I'm trying to. So, the style of third hand used to, evidently just not sold anymore. Try this one. I don't know, so just started. So what the third hand does is it holds your brakes calipers closed. So that is actually pretty damn perfect. That stage right there. Now for this, I'm actually going to need do it instead. Not ideal. That'll do. There we go. That's got you right in the action. All right. Everything's pulled tight along there. Well, one of my center pole brake components. The thing is your front brakes. But if I did actually manage to lose one, the one I have needs to go on the front. This is already set up. We're gonna put it on this one. And then I wasn't planning on riding this bike before another trip out to the other bike shop. Forget exactly what it was I needed in there, but there was something. I wrote it down somewhere. Alright. So these guys go on here. And then, yeah, especially with the third hand on there, you just tighten that down. This guy is an adjuster. And so the thing is, there's this weird balance where a new brake line is going to have, it's going to stretch a little over time as it adjusts and gets broken in. It's just a little bit of elasticity and that gets pulled out. So you mostly need to adjust this down. But the reality is also that old wheels are not perfectly straight. And sometimes you do need to adjust it back the other way. So having a little bit of space in there in case you do need to adjust this down. When you let this piece push this nut, scroll it up towards here, that lets it all slide down, which functionally makes your brake line longer. If you pull this back, pull this bit back, it doesn't actually screw in. If I scroll this down, actually, I let an awful lot out of there. We'll see. I'm gonna let the third hand off in a second, we'll see. But when that goes down, and holds it there, that functionally makes your brake line shorter. So you want to have a little bit of space in there to be able to pull some slack out of your brake line. You also need to make sure this guy is really properly tight. I think this is the main reason people don't like center pulls. If that's not tight, when you brake, this line can just get pulled through there. I don't think it's that hard to tighten it down, but I think other people find it difficult. And that looks excellent. Looking at the gap right there. We got gap. We got gap. Now, I did grab fresh brake pads. These seem fine, and they really seem like the modern ones. But they're made by the same people that made the brake originally, Weinmann, who made this back in the 1970s. So I don't know, I am suspicious. I'm just gonna take one. Let's see how the rubber feels compared to the new one. So yeah, like, this guy on the left is the one that's on there, the guy on the right is the new one. And I don't know. Like, it does feel older, but not 50 years older. And I feel like every time, too, I've pulled the old style brakes off here, they're like some weird orange rubber. They're not like the normal modern one. And this is like very, very modern. I don't think these are old enough to need replacing. They felt pretty good while I was riding. They're also $2. So just like literally sitting here rubbing them and trying to feel the friction difference on them, and it doesn't feel much different. Yeah, no, there's not one. Only $2, but they don't need replacing. Why replace them? Hold on. Sure, I'll need another set of brake pads in no time. And the big thing for positioning these, you want to inline with the brake, and should only ever touch the rim. Should never, ever, ever touch the tire. A big thing on these, when you really tighten down to that last bit, they really want to try to twist in the direction that you are pushing them. Ta-da! You really pull hard on that. Really, especially with the center pulls, really wail on that brake lever. Make sure that brake line isn't shifting through there. And it's not. But this does look, those brakes are much, much further than they were initially. Let me check, because it didn't just, the line didn't just like pull through. Only when it pulls, it really pulls. It's able to pull through. Let's just readjust again. Okay. Yes, that'll do. I'm also gonna adjust this guy, so I can adjust that, do my fine adjustments the way it should be done. that is no tension on it. It is proving hard to loosen. But yeah, this is the problem with these. I'm gonna hold the back. Are you a 10? It'd be really nice if you were a 10. Not quite, but I think you're close enough. Alright. Big wrench. This is the most ideal way to do one of the... Well, I mean, not like an actual adjustable wrench. That's not the most ideal, but... Not crazy, right? Am I? That is tightening it. There we go. All right. Excellent. And I can see where the line was flattened a bit on there, so I think one of these settings was probably just not fully all the way through. There is another tool you can use on the line to a line tensioner that grabs that line and pulls it really taut. I have become less of a fan of that because I feel like your brakes come out adjusted to the point that they it is really all the way tightened to the point of being unusable, and so you need to like back off somehow, and this doesn't quite work. I think this way is enough space that when I take that third hand off, it is naturally tight. This guy, make sure that's good and tight. If it's not tight, that line can hold through it. Yeah, there's like a little bit of looseness in there, but that is what you want. Because that looseness is what translates to these not being pushing into your wheel, and it is slack. You only want it to push into the wheel when you squeeze the brakes like this. It is. That feels really nice. Doesn't feel like it's slipping. Right, don't have to pull the brake too terribly far before that kicks in. Awesome. Is there anything else on this I would be redoing anytime? I have a spare brake line if I really needed it. Let's adjust this up a little bit. There we go. So that I just tightened up my brakes by like a couple, maybe a millimeter there. I do need a little bit more truing. A little truing work on this wheel. I didn't do any. You know what? Let's clip it. Let's finish the last little bit. So now, on this, go a little ways. Not like right next to the brake, just in case you ever do have to adjust something. I'm gonna have a little bit left to do. Flip that line. are some fancy tools you can use. The pair of pliers works. You just really got to make sure you rail on it properly. Down here, this will do. So, this little guy is a cable crimp. Little thing that's job is to deform around this. You can go even shorter. I don't like to go too much shorter because you need to be able to handle it if you do need to adjust this in the future. And it's too much shorter, that becomes a problem. You don't want it to be so long that it's like getting involved in the way of everything, but this is not going to move from there. It'll stay right there its whole life. So I'm happy with that. You can make it shorter if you want, but if you have to readjust it, you might end up having to replace the whole line. So I'm happy with that. It's reattached. The stand just feels a little cursed too. It doesn't really want to be straight. Most situations, not a problem. I need my cargo rack to be relatively straight though. I'm also going to push this far up this way to keep it as far from my brake line as I can. The brake line really doesn't move much though, either of these, so not really a huge problem. It doesn't need like inches of clearance. It moves by millimeters. But not like this is, my favorite place to have it. So I would really rather have this attach up higher, but so be it. Oh, right there. Oh, it's just the pedal. Okay, that's fine. Like that though. There's another part of this, the mount down here. It's just really funky. don't even want to show it because anyone who knows bikes would have a heart attack with how close it is to the chain. But yeah, it's like the threading on it is just not working right. Yep, that's gonna be that. Best. Up here, what have I got going on? I think these should work. When it's too close, you'll notice the nuts are not the same. But I think that is natural. Venus. One's 10 millimeters, one's 8 millimeters. That's going to be a little annoying. I'll swap that out next time I'm down at the shop. But it'll do. Right brake has more than enough space to do. And it's plenty. Okay. That'll do. A little busy back there, but there are a couple things on this bike that I think are a little jank to where I'll end up keeping it for myself. The Fuji is a little more consumer friendly. And this one really does ride like a dream. I was just riding it in top gear the whole way to the shop and back and just didn't feel like anything. It's beautiful. Okay. That's the rear brake done. Rear brake and alright. Let's breathe. I don't like the way this is hanging, so. Flip it back the other way. have it this way. While I was doing the rear wheel, just because of that right there, the rear brake line gets pinched in the clamp. What is grabbing right here? Well, once that line is in place, that won't be happening anymore. Although I still don't know where my other piece is. Central brake is. How about this? Do that. Stop it from bouncing around a little bit. Okay. For this one, this piece of brake. And you know, based on how much more it settled in, once I ran the line through there, I'm actually gonna run the line. Be very careful not to cut it. The line is in there, but there we go. First try. You do not keep getting caught around there because you're chewing, marring the outside. This is the much easier side. Figure out what line to move on. Because it doesn't have any range of motion, it just goes to here. Call it there. Call it there. I think that should give me a little wiggle room. That doesn't look the prettiest. Let's see how it feels in there though. Feels random whether or not this thing cuts nice. I'm getting a nicer pair of cutters sooner rather than later. But that does feel nice on there now. But once the line is through that rear brake line, you go right around and you're fine. I think even when it's loose, it won't struggle. Get through there. This side, this right here is your adjuster. So this whole thing kind of screws up and down. Right now it's actually off a little bit. You know what? That's it. Again, I want to leave the slack mostly to pull this up, to push that up. Excellent. Alright, let's get ramping. Yeah, and already he's falling. Now I have enough nice electrical tape from this kit. This is a good stuff to attach this down. Honestly, these are kind of your modern style of clippers. So, good chance it's one of the things that can be with it. I'm gonna do the same thing here with a little chunk of this on either side. I think I'm gonna wait until we're closer to that point. Also, if I recall correctly, you always wrap going to the front, because that way you more often push and rotate forward, and that way as you do that, you pull all of it tight as it goes. I think if it were wrapped around backwards, like that, I don't know. I think someone told me that once. I don't know how much it matters. Never had a problem with these coming loose. There's so much tension in there from them holding each layer, holding itself on. I don't think it's much of a problem. This is one of the annoying parts to try to get correct. I'm actually gonna try to attach this a little more because I think that'll look nicer. pretty even. Not perfect. And again, just make sure it's always covered in the previous row. Same thing. Do this whole area where your hands aren't going to be resting. And it's the most awkward on those bends like that. Close to the break. See how well that looks over there. So I cut the bit that they gave me into 2 pieces. Just cutting it up in there. So this seems to be the spot on the brakes that really sticks out. That side already doesn't want to stay where it is, so that's... This side might be a little more of a wrestling match. Back in place while keeping tension on the rest of this. See how it goes. Most of this is just keeping some tension on it. Making sure you're covering the previous edge. Like, only just, you don't need to... I feel like when you start off, you're getting to the end and you like don't have enough tape. A little bit thicker here. So you actually put your hands there. All this up into the hood. Put that in all of my little patch jobs. It's not big enough. I actually have that little bit of extra tape left over on the other side. That'll work pretty nicely. I think, end of the day, coming out pretty good. This tape is pretty dang flexible, so you can kind of pull it down around and just make a turn with it like that. Lost some tension through there, so I actually just kind of like twisted it around clockwise. Hold it tight again. Alright, let's see. How we doing? It's not covering its previous row right there. Alright, back it up. Push you a little more forward. So easier to cover that row. The little strips seem pretty happy. Not really causing a problem. this side. It's just not good. Let's try. That. Just more oil here. I think that was it. That feels nice. Why? I don't know. But yeah, kept tension through there. That patch is right where I want it to be. So I know I did double it around once more at the top. Might be what really did it. And then again, right here in this crook is a place where you do actually put a lot of weight on your hands, so I tried to double it up a bit heavier through here. Almost like closer to 2/3 overlap, at least on the inside of that. And if you end up going too heavy, you're close enough to the end that if you do have to double back, looks like I might have ended up going a bit heavier there on the side of the bike than on the other. And that's okay for a little hobbyist project. I think this is going to be pretty damn good. Back that up a little bit. There we go. I even need to trim that. My hand ready to go. Fold all those edges around, down and in. Best you can. All right, there we go. Looking sharp. It's like there's still space for that to. I'm gonna wanna pick the landing as well. They're both okay though. They're both just fine. And I think this bike is going to be more of a me bike. It's got some little idiosyncrasies on it, but it's a joy to ride, so. Hope I didn't forget anything. I didn't forget my line this time. I'm missing that piece. So let me start tidying up. I don't think there was anything else I was planning on doing with this today. So it is gonna get brand new derailleurs and chain. And the chain, I'm actually gonna do the hot wax treatment, which I was looking around, and this sounds like it's a really big step up in reducing friction on a bike, or at least on a chain. It's like they say it's a third less friction than on a chain normally, which is pretty huge. And then for this thing too, if I'm gonna replace the derailleur, I'm gonna have to take this chain off. And I don't know what the hell this is or how I would get a master link on there. So, whatever this little guy is, it's a neat chain, but this thing is just a piece of shit, and so the chain's gonna have to go with it. Pedals though, I did. So I was trying to pull these off because they were real junk and like were not spinning freely at all. In the process of doing that, I was liquid wrenching up the joint over here, and then when I got them off, suddenly they felt amazing and were spinning very freely. And turns out that liquid wrench does an awful lot for cleaning up those bearings. So I loaded it up with liquid wrench and even a little bit of the bike chain grease, and then spun it, dumped it out. This side really had a lot of dirt coming out with all that grease, but got both of those done, and now they spin beautifully. Yeah, bike's coming along well, and once we get into this back here, be able to get into a couple spots of rust. I think the bearings on front and rear wheel really feel great. Once I have the chain off, I'll have a better idea of just how good that bottom bracket is. I might try to get in there then too. I've got a better wrench set now, and I can try on this guy again. I know he really did not want it last time. There's some spots of rust on here. But yeah, this derailleur is just stupid. I don't know what the hell that is. It's a weird little bar that moves in and out. Never seen that before. So that's going. I do like this, but I do also worry about it as a safety thing. I feel like if I got in an accident and my leg was flying up past this, I don't really love that. I do love though the fact that my pant leg is going to be my leg. Going to be less prone to rub up against the chain. We'll see. Alright, let me keep hanging. Yeah, I'm going to hospital about it. Well, this is when I do have a lot.
There's bait.
So I'm hoping that as I'm cleaning, I will run into the missing piece for my front center pole brakes. That's why I haven't quite yet. Because it can't have gone far. Very sad third hand tool for Amazon. Everyone told me it was too small. There's like one guy in there that says no, it's just fine. I always believe that one. the axle from my old Bridgestone, I think. It's nothing here. Nah. I don't have much hope for where else it could be. So, I guess the front brake is just going to get finished another time. Alright, well, I guess that's going to be it then. But hope you guys enjoyed. You know, restringing brakes like that is tricky. Haven't actually done the full thing at home before. It's a neat way. Again, centrifugal brakes like that, most people really don't like them. I absolutely love them. I think they center way better than any other type of cantilever. The next step up is like much more expensive and much more complex rings. I like them a lot. But that's all. Have a good day, everyone.